Hey, it's Jordan with Status Coup, day 29 of the United Auto Workers strike against GM, Ford, and Stellantis. And UAW President Shawn Fain just finished his broadcast announcing updates with the strike. He did not announce a new plant going on strike today. He did announce 2 days ago, very unexpectedly, that the biggest plant for Ford in Kentucky went on strike. That was Wednesday night, almost 9,000 workers there. So that is the largest plant for Ford that is now on strike. They build trucks for Ford. But although he didn't announce new strikes today, he did announce, I would say, changing the rules of the strike. And basically, according to him, we're not messing around anymore. I'm going to play this first clip. It's a couple minutes long, but I think pretty important. And he'll explain in this clip why they decided unexpectedly on Wednesday night to go on strike at Ford's plant in Kentucky.
This week, we entered an entirely new phase of our stand-up strike. And let me tell you the story of how the mighty Kentucky truck plant of UAW Local 862 transpired. For 2 weeks, Ford's been telling us there's more money to be had. They said, hang on, we're close, but there's still some room to continue to sweeten the deal. On Wednesday, they owed us an offer, and they gave us a call. They wanted to meet over Zoom, and they wanted to pass the same economic offer that they passed 2 weeks ago, with no more money. So we said, if you're going to offer us nothing, you're going to do it to our face with our full national negotiating team in the room. We went to Ford headquarters to see what they had to say for themselves. It was not a long meeting. They tried to give us the same deal that we rejected 2 weeks ago and not a dollar more. So at that point, I said, that's all you have for us? Our members' lives and my handshake are worth more than that. You just cost yourself Kentucky truck plant. We had management leave the room, and Vice President Browning and Kentucky Truck Plant Chairperson John Jaggers, who's on the National Negotiating Committee, and myself made the call. And we let John make the call to take the plant out. We didn't wait till Friday, and we didn't wait a minute. We then called President Todd Dunn at Local 862, and he and his local leadership walked 8,700 members off the job. And of course, they had the unwavering support of Regional Director Tim Smith. This is Ford's biggest plant. Ford, of course, put out a statement about how unfair this action is. In that same statement, they admitted that Kentucky Truck generates $25 billion in revenue a year. That's $48,000 a minute. Our labor at Kentucky Truck generates more revenue each minute than thousands of our members make in a year. The revenue generated by our members at Kentucky Truck is so high that if the plant were its own standalone business, it would rank in the Fortune 500. We're not messing around. A negotiation requires both sides making movement. If they're not ready to move, then we're going to give them a push in a language they understand, dollars and cents. We did it the way we did for a simple reason. The company started to wait till Friday to make substantial progress in bargaining. We've been teaching them how to bargain. With the threat of a strike, we can get them moving. We can teach them the real meaning of competition. Not a race to the bottom, but a race to avoid further strikes. Ford thought they could sit back and not make further progress in bargaining because they thought they had the best deal on the table. Ford thought they could wait until Friday morning and then just make a better offer. They stopped being interested in reaching a fair deal now and only became interested in gaming our system of announcing strike expansions on Friday. They thought they figured out the so-called rules of the game, so we changed the rules. And now there's only one rule: pony up. We're at the point in this process where we are looking for one thing only: a deal, a tentative agreement. I wish I had more updates or good news for all of you out of GM or Stellantis, but the fact is, we're still bargaining hard with both of those companies, and they're now on notice that we are entering a new phase in this fight. That's why I was late this morning, that had Stellantis here, and we were meeting with them with some of the committee members, and we gave them assignments, so we'll see where things go. When I tell all of you members to be ready to stand up, I mean it. We're not waiting until Fridays anymore. We're not sticking to one pattern or one system of giving these companies an extra hour or an extra day. They know what needs to happen, and they know how to get it done. Taking out Kentucky Truck sent a very clear message not only to Ford, but to GM and Stellantis as well. Don't you dare slow walk us or lowball us. We will take out whatever plants they force us to. And to be clear, we remain in a very, very strong position. Already the wage offers we've received are more than the combined raises of the past 15 years. Coal is back on the table in a serious way. Our progression at Ford is back to where it was in the mid-1990s.
Pony up. The rules of the games have changed. I'll tell you, the bottom line is, obviously, the pattern was Friday mornings, he would be announcing new plants going on strike. But just Wednesday night, they announced the largest plant thus far going on strike. As he said, the Ford plant, the Ford plant in Kentucky, they're making $25 billion in revenue a year, $48,000 a minute. That is much more than some of the lowest paid Ford workers we have met and we have interviewed, particularly temp workers, are making. That is going to hurt Ford significantly. And seems like the next step would be the plants that make the F-150. I believe there's plants in Kansas and elsewhere that make the F-150. But the plant in Kentucky with 8,700 workers, that's a big, big deal and a big, big hit to Ford. No matter how much product they have stockpiled before the strike, you can't really stockpile enough product to account for a plant of almost 9,000 workers that makes $25 billion in revenue. Later on, Fain made the point that plant, if it was just standing on its own as its own company, not part of Ford company, that auto plant would be a Fortune 500 company based on making $25 billion in revenue a year. So that is a huge, huge hit. So for UAW workers who wanted them to up the ante, hit the big three harder at the more profitable plants, well, now they have. And I like the fact, I said this when I was on the road. We were on the road, thanks to you, for 25 days covering this. I think we've covered it longer and better than anyone else, because I think right now this is the biggest story for the working class in this country going on right now. I know there's other stories going on right now, but we thank you for helping us cover it on the ground. We might want to go back and cover it on the ground because I think it's going to go on for longer. But to be honest, 25 days really drained us financially. So we definitely could use, if you want us back on the ground covering the continuation of the strike, sign up as a Status Coup member, statuscoup.com/join. You can become a member for $5 to $10 a month. That's how we fund on the ground reporting, because we don't have any of the corporate vultures funding us. So another thing he said that really stood out to me is, and I pointed this out, don't get used to, oh, we're going to give the companies a week. We'll wait a week to announce. They didn't wait a week to announce. They unexpectedly on Wednesday night announced that they were going on strike at the Ford plant in Kentucky that makes trucks. So, I mean, technically, he's calling on UAW members to go out tomorrow on day 30, stand at picket lines, even if your plant is not on strike. He's calling on allies to go stand on picket lines to show solidarity. They could announce new plants tomorrow. They could announce new plants Monday. We don't know. So there seems to be a much shorter grace period for these companies, and he's not just going to give them a week. And I like the fact that Ford came back basically trying to, pass off an offer that they already had made economically as somehow new. And he said, F you, we're going on strike at your biggest plant in Kentucky. So listen, it's a big deal. And I think why he's doing this, I don't know, but this is just my speculation. Remember, this strategy really, part of it depends on pitting the companies against each other. So you need an agreement from one of the companies first to then pressure the other two companies to meet that agreement. And more than likely, the first agreement would be Ford because they have offered the most. Still not enough. So that's why I think UAW is kind of turning up the heat on Ford, because that's the most likely company to get an agreement with. From what I can tell, seems they're still off in terms of wages and pension/retirement increases for current retirees. That seems to be the sticking points. Obviously, they got cost of living back from Ford. They got basically an end to the two-tier system. Ford offered to, make people full-time after 90 days. But clearly they're not moving far enough as far as wages and pension. I want to play this other part, which was more about kind of what this is all about. And I thought he said some really powerful things in this section here. Let's take a listen.
There's some that are trying to say that I'm raising members' expectations too high. They think it's dangerous to tell the working class they deserve more. I want to be clear on this point. I didn't raise members' expectations. Our broken economy is what's raising our members' expectations. And our members are right to be angry. Corporate America rebounded after the Great Recession, and profits are soaring. In fact, corporate profits have hit a 70-year high in 2022. Meanwhile, the working class has kept going backwards. We've seen our standard of living decline due to stagnant wages and rising inflation. Income inequality in the United States has now risen to heights not seen since the Great Depression. So I'm not the cause of raised expectations. The cause is overflowing corporate bank accounts. The cause is company executives making hundreds of times what the average worker makes. The cause is inequality. Standing up for yourself is not dangerous. It's our obligation to the working class and to future generations. What's truly dangerous is to continue to allow inequality to spiral out of control. What's dangerous is to let the ultra-rich get richer while the working class falls further behind. What's dangerous is to let companies and politicians kick workers while we're down, gut our unions, and rig our economy. So unless employers start coming to their senses, unless we start to see real gains in our contracts that match the gains we've seen on Wall Street, then I predict there are going to be a lot more strikes on the horizon.
There you have it. Not messing around. And this is about more, as he's consistently said, this is about more than just the auto industry. Listen, as I said when I was on the ground, obviously at the beginning of a strike, there's excitement, energy. But the longer you get in, fatigue sets in, economic pressure sets in. These workers, some of whom have been on strike tomorrow for 30 days, 500 hours a week, you can't live off of. You can't really feed your kids and pay other bills off of 500 hours a week. So when you look at the 3 plants that started this strike, Ford in Wayne, Michigan, Stellantis in Toledo, Ohio, GM in Wentzville, Missouri, that's, they're feeling it, the pressure. And then you had the 38 parts and distribution plants go on strike a week later. They're starting to feel it. And it's tough to be out there. I was out there covering them in the heat every day, and now it's getting colder. They do have the burn barrels and fire, but it's still cold. So this is going to become tougher, and that's why it's going to take, solidarity among the union and workers outside that are not auto workers to support them, showing up on picket lines, social media, donations. You can go to uaw.org for that information. And solidarity, because the companies clearly are hoping that they could just bleed out the strike fund, wait out the union. They don't want to open Pandora's box and offer what they clearly have in their bank accounts to offer. because then if they can show, hey, we actually can give the working class good wages, good benefits, retirement security, what else are they going to demand if we give them that? That's the mentality of corporate America. And they also want to, make sure they're continuing to grease the skids of their shareholders at stock buybacks. So this is going to be a long fight. Can't predict it, but I do not see this strike ending in a week or 2 weeks. You might have a deal with Ford or one of the companies in that time, but not all three. So we'll continue to cover this. And as Sean Fain has said, tick tock, tick tock.